Welcome to Live Life Better. This is Scott Eastwood. I want you to live the best version of your life. We're all human beings. We're all just trying to figure it out. Find something you love and chase it. Hello, everybody. How you doing? How you feeling? What you thinking? How you doing? How you feeling? How you thinking? Something I might ask twice. But how are you feeling? Hopefully good. Hopefully not like an asshole. Hopefully you did something nice for somebody today. You know what? I challenge everybody today to give another person a compliment. Imagine that, right, Tim? Just all you got to do is give them a compliment. One thing, you just say, hey, I like your shirt. I like your teeth. I like your hair.
You pluck those eyebrows there, buddy?
I do pluck them, actually.
They look lovely.
Thank you.
You have lovely eyebrows.
You see that? Boom. I feel good. I feel like I got good eyebrows. I got some confidence. I'm ready to walk out into the world and do it. We got Jeff O'Connell back on. Yes, we got him to do 2 episodes because not only is Jeff O'Connell the author of Sugar Nation, which is an incredible book, but he is a editor for Bodybuilding magazine. And he was an editor for Men's Health and Flex and what another one too. I can't even remember.
That's enough.
But yeah, that's enough. Yeah. I'd say he's the expert. We talk about bodybuilding. We talk about working out, training, exercise, diet. It's just a good all-around guy to have on. Talk about some good shit in your life and making some life changes and helping you out for the novice who wants to start in the gym and doesn't have any idea or any resources of how to. Yeah, some cool stuff. So check it out. I hope you like it.
Scott, we need to talk.
Ooh, we are back. We're back.
Back in business.
We're back. Thanks for coming on the podcast to promote Sugar Nation or just talk about your story, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
But I wanted to have you on to talk about bodybuilding because you are an editor at Bodybuilding magazine and you worked at Men's Health for quite some time.
And Muscle and Fitness magazine before that. And
Jeez.
Flex before that. So pretty much my whole career.
Pretty much know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Have you always been into pushing weight training?
Pretty much since high school. I mean, even though I'm tall and thin, it's funny because I read Muscle and Fitness off the newsstand in high school. And when I got into publishing, I think after my first or second job, I was just looking for like the next move up to kind of build a career for myself. And I saw an advertisement that turned out to be for Muscle and Fitness magazine in Woodland Hills, California, out in the valley. It was founded by Joe Weider back, decades ago. It was kind of the Bible of that industry. But I just thought how cool I'm actually going to work for a magazine I would buy. Like that seems like a really cool job. And it turned out to be, it was a great career move because I've always kind of felt like I've gotten paid to do my hobby. Not bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding per se, but health and fitness as a lifestyle is something that interests me greatly. So,
how do you get all the research? Like, where do you? I have so many questions because you read something. It feels like. Here's my only thing. It always feels like everything's changing, right? Like what we know today is going to be different than what we know in 20 years, and what we knew 20 years ago is different today.
And often it seems contradictory, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh no, it's only do egg whites, and then now it's like, oh no.
Leave the fat in.
Leave the fat in,
and you need some cholesterol.
And it's like, how does these, where are we getting your info? Because I'm sure you're writing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's based on the research, and I think there's so much more research now than there used to be. That's part of it. I mean, 10, 20 years ago, there was just a fraction. It really wasn't something they studied per se, like nutrition as a discipline, the way it is today, where everybody is interested in it, everybody has a blog, and
everybody's an expert now, right?
Or a self-proclaimed expert. Yeah, there are college classes devoted to this stuff. So I think a lot of the stuff that was discovered or studied initially, has evolved over time. Some of it has turned out to be incorrect. Some of it is, sort of stood the test of time. And there's just constantly new research and constant sort of reevaluation of the way people think and view certain subjects. And it just, as a writer and an editor, you really need to be at the cutting edge to make sure that you're sort of sifting through the new research and kind of sorting out the BS and making sure that people know the stuff that they really need to know. Because like coffee, for example, every week there's seemingly a different study that it's good
about
for
coffee.
you. It's bad for you. It prevents cancer. It causes cancer. So you just have to make sure that those studies aren't being sensationalized. And
Sure.
sometimes studies can be reported on in a way that's kind of misleading, maybe exaggerates the result in a way that, or draws a conclusion from a study that really isn't warranted. So, but magazines like Men's Health and hopefully Bodybuilding.com, we have experienced editors, we have fact checkers, we have science editors who pour through that and hopefully make sure people get the best information they can and can make sound decisions about their health based on that. But it is complicated. I think so many people just sort of throw up their hands at a certain point. Like, just there's so much information and so much of it seems inconsistent and conflicting that it leads to frustration. So
Now that we're on the topic of coffee, where do you stand? Where do you think? What do you think about coffee? Are you a coffee drinker?
I used to be a huge coffee drinker. I can't anymore for health reasons, but I think coffee is actually quite good for people in moderation. 2-3 cups a day. It's filled with tons of antioxidants. There's a lot of studies that suggest it may actually prevent things like help prevent something like type 2 diabetes. Again, if you're eating cake and cookies all day and drinking a cup of coffee, it's
Sure.
and that's where a lot of the confusion lies. It's like people see that there's a study that showed that coffee actually helps, prevent type 2 diabetes, but if the rest of your diet is messed up, it's not even going to matter. So I think that's part of the confusion. And the big problem with coffee is that when you dump a bunch of sugar into it.
Yeah.
So you take an otherwise healthy beverage and pretty much ruin it and turn it into a sugar bomb. So it kind of depends on how you consume your coffee. If you just drink it black or just put some cream or milk in it, I think it's actually good for you, not bad for you.
When you say cream or milk, are you?
Or black would be fine.
No, I'm just I
like creamer.
yeah. I mean, yeah. A lot of people like creamer. What do you feel about dairy, though?
I have no aversion to dairy. I don't think it's unhealthy per se.
Just sort of, it's either agrees with some people or doesn't.
Yeah, if you're lactose intolerant, you should not drink milk for sure. Just like if you're glucose intolerant, you should cut back on your sugar. But I think if you don't have those issues, it's a good source of protein. There's quite a few vitamins and minerals in milk as well. So yeah, I wouldn't really shy away from dairy.
You spoke about the fundamentals that stand the test of time. For, putting on lean muscle, for becoming strong, bone density, all the good things that come along with bodybuilding, right? What are those fundamentals?
Well, I think first and foremost, you said, like, has anything stood the test of time? And resistance training for sure. I mean, back when Joe Weider first encouraged people to do that in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, there's nobody who's come out and said, you shouldn't lift weights, that's bad for you. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, some people did in the last century, but they were quickly discredited. I think that's almost universally accepted now that is a good thing to do, is to resistance train. Like you said, it's good for your bone density. It's good for building muscle, which is great for
Protecting your body.
Yeah, you create a lot of metabolically active tissue, so you're actually burning calories at rest when you have more muscle. So it's great for weight management. And just to be a strong, vital person, I don't think anybody thinks that's a bad thing. So there's a lot of back and forth about those. Is CrossFit better than bodybuilding? Is bodybuilding better than CrossFit? Or should I lift 10 reps a set or 15 reps a set? So there are debates about the minutia of stuff like that. But in the big picture, I think it's overwhelmingly been proven that resistance training is a great thing for people to do. So there's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, and what I asked,
the basics really.
Well, like I asked a really general question, right? I'll get a little more granular.
Sure.
As far as resistance training And then when it comes to diet, what are the fundamentals that have stood the test of time that help you pack on lean muscle?
I would say I think free weights have really, they're back in vogue now. A few decades ago, machines were kind of all the rage, but I think there's a really profound effect from compound movements using free weights. So in other words, not just curling a dumbbell at the elbow joint, but actually doing like a squat where your knees, your hips are all moving in unison. So there's a lot of stress on your body. There's a great hormonal response to that in terms of growth hormone release.
Sure.
It's great for your balance because you're having to sort of, handle that weight within your entire body, basically. And so I think people get the best, fastest results from doing a lot of compound moves with free weights. And just like 3-4 times a week is really all you have to do it for, maybe an hour per session. You don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to train for 3 hours like Arnold did back in the day to get really amazing results if the diet is supporting it. And by that I mean lean protein. The RDA for protein is much too low. Most people should consume more than what Uncle Sam recommends, basically.
What is that? What like a gram? Obviously it's hard to put anybody and say, oh, you're supposed to, for your height, your weight, your body type, you should have X amount of protein. But what is an appropriate amount of protein per serving?
Well, I think the RDA is 0.3 grams per pound of body weight per day. But it's almost universally, at least in the industry that I participate in, that like 1 gram per day is more realistic and a better. So that's 3 times as much, basically. So in other words, I don't know, how much do you weigh?
185.
So you should consume probably 185 grams of protein a day, roughly.
I wonder if I get that, because I don't really count. But I wonder if I get it.
You might. I mean, it sounds like you're eating a lot of salmon and chicken and lean proteins and stuff like that.
I eat a lot. I mean,
but especially for a guy like you who's working out, it's probably better for you to be, even if you're not at 1 gram per pound of body weight, it's better to be closer to that number than the 0.3, which is kind of antiquated advice.
Well, what do we do with excess protein? How does our body metabolize excess protein?
I mean, it can be stored as fat if you have too much of anything, but basically it's helping you build muscle tissue, and you excrete it. There's a lot of myths about the fact that a high protein diet is really bad for your kidneys, but that's, I think, largely been discredited. If you have existing kidney disease, you probably shouldn't gorge on protein. But for an average person, that's not really a concern or a risk.
For the novice person who's never been into bodybuilding, never been into weight training, but like wants to get into it, but they're overwhelmed by the information that's out there and the the fear of I don't know what to do. I don't maybe I can't afford a trainer. What would you say is kind of would be a basic? I'm going to ask you twofold. One, the training of it, of how someone would go about bodybuilding, right? You've been bodybuilding for a long time. You've been working out, resistance training. I've myself been doing it for years and years. But how does the novice person get into it? What would you say is a good routine to put together for someone who wants to get into it?
Yeah. Well, I think for a lot of people who are starting out, the biggest hurdle often initially is psychological or mental. They're kind of intimidated by the gym. Again, there's so many machines, so many people in there that seem so much more experienced than they are that they kind of shy away from it. So I think part of it is just getting into the mental space that everyone at some point was a beginner, and this is sort of your time to get started. And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll learn. It's not that big of a deal. No one's watching you. No one really cares if you're doing your curls wrong initially or whatever. So just kind of move past that mental barrier to getting in the gym and just working out. And then I think just like a full body routine is the best way for somebody to start. Beginners are not big enough to really need to devote like 7 different exercises to biceps in the way like a pro bodybuilder would do, where his whole workout might be just focused on biceps. A beginner should just do like a whole body routine where the legs, torso are all getting worked. And just do that maybe 3-4 times a day or 3-4 times a week.
To start?
What
would that,
spacing it out, like one off day in between a workout. So like workout Monday, take Tuesday off. Workout Wednesday, take Thursday off. And just do a good full body routine.
What would that entail?
Might be like bench pressing for your shoulders and your pecs, probably squatting. Again, I like these compound movements that hit the whole body. Squatting for your quads, hamstrings, rows for your back, maybe dumbbell rows or upright rows. Pull-ups are great, things where you're using your own body weight, if you can do that initially. I'd avoid things like, one mistake people make is that like they start working out, they think they want to get abs, so okay, let me go in and do like 100 crunches a day. That's not really a very efficient exercise for a beginner. It's just working a very small part of the body and not in a very efficient way. So again, I think those people should be doing what I call the big moves, like the squat, the bench press. And definitely, if you can hire a trainer, I'd say by all means go for it. If you can afford it, because it's important to learn how to do these moves correctly from the start. You can injure yourself if you don't know how to do stuff correctly, and the trainer will kind of keep you accountable. And
how do you know a good trainer though?
That's a really good question. It's hard. I mean, you go to like Gold's Gym, and are you getting the good guy or the guy who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a great answer for that, other than just recommendations and trial and error, and see if you're comfortable with them. Do they sort of seem like they know what they're talking about? Are they watching what you're doing, or are they on their iPhone in the middle of your set? I mean, just kind of basic stuff like, are they attentive and focused, and check for certifications too, whether it's through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Just, you'll see the initials after their name, and just make sure that they at least know what they're talking about.
Got it.
And if they do, then I think it's finding somebody with whom you're comfortable and who motivates you and who kind of makes you want to go back to the gym.
And the second part of that question is, for people who don't know, is about diet, right? So it's important if you're trying to, I don't know what your goals are. Everyone has different goals when we're talking about bodybuilding, right? Someone might come in and be like, I really got to work my legs and my ass, or, I've got to get stronger core, whatever their goal is. I think that they need to realize it's not just about the time they put in the gym, but it's what they put in their body and what they put in their body immediately after, if they're trying to get gains, right?
Yep.
What's sort of the basics for someone if they're
just starting out?
Just starting out.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I mean, there's an old adage that it's bodybuilding is 80% nutrition and 20% training, and I think that's a good mindset to go into it, because you're in the gym for maybe an hour at most, but then there's 23 other hours in the day when you can either help your body grow or lose fat, depending on your goal, or kind of sabotage what you just did in the gym. So I think a lot of the basics we talked about in the last episode, just lean proteins should be the foundation. I'd say lean proteins and vegetables should be the foundation of every meal. Unless you have diabetes or some blood sugar issues, I think you can then, add in some brown rice or a sweet potato to that and have a balanced meal. But yeah, just avoiding fast food, learning to cook your food, not dumping a bunch of crazy sauces that add a bunch of empty calories to your meals. And just finding like a cadence that works for you. Like maybe if intermittent fasting works with your psychology and your schedule, then go for it. Some people just don't like to deal with food and cooking for 10 hours of the day, so they like IF. Some people like to eat every 2 hours, small meals every 2 hours. Some people like to spread it out. I think just finding the approach that you can be compliant with is the most important thing. Don't do something that makes you miserable or that just doesn't fit with your lifestyle or how you approach things. It has to be comfortable. It has to be something that's sustainable for the long term. Yeah.
And you mentioned only a few days a week too. I know that I've been guilty of overtraining in the past. You think 3-4 times a week?
For a beginner.
For a beginner?
Yeah. For someone like you, I think, assume has been training for quite a while, you could, if you programmed your workouts appropriately, you could probably train 7 days a week and not overtrain. It just sort of depends on how your program's designed and stuff like that.
Sure.
But you've built up to that. You wouldn't do that starting out, or you would get quickly overtrained.
Yeah.
And probably injured too.
I'm going to train pretty hard tomorrow.
What's your regimen like? Do you do like a bodybuilder split, or are you into CrossFit, or what?
Yeah, I'd say I always keep mixing it up, but I do some bodybuilding stuff, and then I also, and when I say bodybuilding stuff, I mean I'll hit 2 muscle groups in a day. I'll hit I might do legs and biceps, one day.
Okay.
Back and core, I'll try to mix in core almost daily, but then certain days I might hit it really hard, and then I'll do a mix of other things. I'll do I do swim, open ocean swim.
Really? That's great.
Yeah, for cardio. I like that a lot because
it's totally low impact.
Totally low impact, exactly. So, for every time that I'm doing something that's high impact, right? Either like weightlifting, I do a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I would call that high impact, but it's really good for my cardio as well. I'll mix in yoga or something that leans me out, doing a different, something that's either working my cardio like swimming, and I'll try to balance that.
Plus, it gives you flexibility. The yoga,
exactly,
which is really important for people.
Yeah, and I always stress that. So many trainers out there will train people, and I watch them, and I go, you just send them on their way. Like, you just crush their legs, and you're not even stretching them. Are you out of your mind? You're going to be screwed.
Yeah,
you're going to be screwed for the next 3 days. You're going to be destroyed. If you can break that lactic acid up, stretch, get the mobility, the flexibility, that's the other part of it.
And the older you get, trust me, the more important that becomes. In fact, I think that becomes the most important thing as you age, is flexibility training.
Yeah.
That's a good point for people too, it's the old school approach was to stretch before your workout, but that's definitely the wrong time to do it because your body's cold, your muscles are kind of brittle. Wait until you finish your workout, your muscles are warm, the tissues are more elastic, and then do your stretching. And you'll get much more benefit from it. Yeah.
And that's not to say don't warm up. I mean, warm up is,
walk on a treadmill for 5 minutes. Get your body temperature elevated, but don't.
Exactly.
You don't need to be cranking on your hamstring when it's totally
cold. That's how you do. People hurt themselves overstretching.
Yeah.
So, I'll try. I do a lot of yoga. I would say I'm probably in 3 days a week yoga, and then I'll add in mini yoga sessions depending on how much time I'm in the car. Where like today I had an all day in the car day. Legitimately had to be around LA all day. So those days destroy me. And I know a lot of people, maybe that are listening, they deal with the same sort of deal, right? They're commuting 2 hours to work, an hour here, hour there. They're working a sales job.
Or maybe they're just sitting at their desk all day.
Or
on a computer, which is
just as bad, right?
Their shoulders hunched. And
I'm calling sitting is the new cancer.
Yeah, we did a piece called that on BBCom like a month ago.
It's terrible. So anytime I'm doing things that I know are compressing my body, I'm trying to equally get the flexibility back. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my routine. I'll hit weights 4 days a week probably, and then I'll do other things. Either some cardio, I'll mix in like a day where I'll do sand sprints at the beach. Mm-hmm. But you were talking about getting that hormonal kick, right? That promoting that natural HGH in your body. And I always find it's really high intensity exercises, or it's full body exercises like you were talking about. Legs are so important.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to gain muscle.
And so many people avoid them like the plague. There's the dreaded leg day syndrome. But it's so important to do that.
And I find it also, like, I feel if I do it correctly and then I stretch afterwards and I break the lactic acid up, I do it correctly, I feel really good the next couple days. Mm-hmm. I feel like, everything's firing on all cylinders. Your sex drive's up. You just...
Your self-confidence is up. Everything's up.
Everything's...
That's the magic of fitness to me, is just how it transforms your entire life when you're training like that.
Yeah. it really is a lifestyle. It's got to be, and it's never too late. You know, I know it takes like big changes, especially when you haven't done it, for people who haven't done it in their 20s, or they haven't made it a part of their early on life. Right? They're like, oh, all of a sudden they turn around, they're 40 years old, and they're like, I've never really been in the gym, never really worked out. That's going to be a really hard nut to crack.
For sure, yeah.
But it's possible. It's possible to make life changes like that. It's just got to be like, no, this is no longer, it's like, oh, I'm going to work out this month, or I'm going to, it's like, no, you're going to work out for the rest of your life now.
Yeah. I think that's the key, is consistency is so important. It's just, you don't always have to be kicking ass in the gym, but you just have to get there and do something. And avoid that 1 week off that becomes 3 months off, that becomes 3 years off.
Yeah.
And again, as you age, I think those layoffs get even harder to overcome. But if you just stick with it, and like you said, sometimes you're really in the groove and training at an amazing level, and sometimes you're just kind of not going through the motions, but sort of at a lower gear, mailing it in. It's still better than doing nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So try to avoid those layoffs at all costs. I think that really sets people back. Because like you said, it's really tough to overcome that.
Was it Bruce Lee who said that, right? It's like consistency beats intensity every day.
I would totally agree with that.
Don't know.
I hadn't heard that before. But
yeah.
So you just go out and dive into the Pacific Ocean and swim? Is that that's how you do it?
I'm a dolphin, part dolphin. Yeah, I'll do just open ocean swims. Just shake it up, swim a mile or two, just go, and just put the goggles on and just do it. I mean, luckily, I live by bodies of water, right? Mm-hmm. I'll be in California, or I'll go do it in the lake. But yeah, or you do it in a pool,
So have you considered the next step, which might be like a triathlon or something where it's actually competitive with your swimming?
I've done some. Have you? Yeah.
How did you find that experience to be?
Fun. And the ones I've done, they've been fun. They haven't been. I haven't competed in an Ironman or anything.
Okay.
I don't know if I really have the desire to do that. I get maybe. I don't know. I just that marathon. It's like
I couldn't do that.
Just crushing your. I don't know. It just sounds so soul crushing.
And just the monotony of it too.
Yeah.
I think my brain would go nuts at a certain point.
Yeah, I'm really good for a short period of time. I'd much rather go do something where I was like a sprint for an hour or something. You're doing something really high intensity. If there was a run, bike, swim, just real quick, boom, 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 and it's like all you got, and you're out. Cool. And I also feel like the long intensity. Like I know this guy who does these crazy long distance runs. Cameron Haynes. You heard of him?
No. He's like an ultra endurance athlete.
Yeah, he's like, among other things, he's also like an incredible bow hunter, and he does it. And I think he started doing it because he realized he needed to be really in shape to hunt elk in the mountains
just
and
to try
at high altitude. Yeah, just to keep up with them. But now he does these. I want to say, can you look him up, Tim?
Yeah.
These 200-mile runs, maybe 150, or it's like insanity in like 72
he did
hours.
Something ridiculous lately.
What's his name? Cameron
Haynes. But the guy's a monster when it comes to these high endurance.
Oh, he's 50 years
things.
old too.
And he's 50 and he's ripped. But yeah, I don't know. I also feel I'm much more of a fan of instead of just like you said, the monotony. I'm much more of a fan of like just a crazy sprint, or doing 10 beach sprints that are a tenth of a mile or something,
right?
And getting that endurance that quickly, which is a different kind of. What is the two types? I always hear there's a anabolic cardio. What is it? Anabolic or meta? There's two different types, right? When you can do a
sprint versus a distance run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does tap into different metabolic systems to fuel that. So,
And there's different types of that in shape, right? There's guys who can. What is that? How many miles did he go?
Yeah, I'm not finding it yet.
The miles are insane. He just runs all day and all night.
Yeah, one of my most recent book collaborations was with a guy named Joe DeSena, who founded the Spartan Race.
Oh yeah, the Spartan stuff,
which is really cool. And like that to me is fun because he takes endurance races but brings a sort of a fun element to it with the obstacles. It's almost like being a kid again.
Yeah.
And he's like this guy. He's an insane ultra endurance. He'll do like 3 triathlons, but he'll do them in a week, like one after the other. Just insane stuff. But
who has the time to do that though? I just don't understand.
He
That's so much time.
He's an entrepreneur. And he turns that into a very lucrative
It's amazing.
business, so
Yeah.
But people always look like they're having so much fun.
They're partying and having a good time afterwards. Yeah.
It's covered in mud, and it's like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it was brutal, but it's like a communal activity for people.
I would do it. I would go do it.
It's got to be really good for your brain too. I mean, I played soccer growing up, and I think you run 7 miles in a game, and I could do that no problem. But if someone said run 7 miles, I'm like, go fuck yourself. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
You know. But I do a lot of breath work and stuff too, and I went to one last night, and when I came out, I just felt super, the oxytocin was going, the serotonin was going, everything was feeling good. And I just commented to somebody, I wonder if this is what the runner's high is.
Just that endorphin rush.
Yeah, if you're just, everything kind of shuts down and you're just hyper focused and your brain's releasing all the feel good chemicals. You do get as in your running, you do catch that like second wind where you're like really just, it's almost like your brain turns off and you just become totally melodic. You're just moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, DeSena talked a lot about like having out of body experiences in these really ultra endurance events where it's almost like he's outside of himself looking down.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't knock running at all because I'm amazed by guys like this, but it feels really high impact on my body after a while. So I'm not as much of a fan of it, but it's great. And it's great cardio. It's easy to do. Anyone can get outside and just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to run. You can just set a treadmill at an incline and walk really briskly and elevate. The key is to elevate your heart rate. That's why you're doing it as a fitness person. So you don't even have to run technically to do that.
And I do find when I have been on a treadmill and I elevate, when I turn up the elevation, it's easier.
It makes it easier for you?
No, it's easier on my joints.
Yeah, I find that to be true as well. Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Just like the angle of attack, but
so you do all these really wild assortment of fitness activities. Have you ever tried something that you just hated and said, "Fuck that! I'm no interested in doing that ever again"?
I don't know if it hated, but just felt like, I could do this. This is pretty easy. But sometimes, like I went to, I'm not a huge fan of. I went to a spin class recently. I've been to them before, and I had a fun time doing it. I wouldn't say that I would get on that bandwagon, but I did like the sweat that I got from it.
But otherwise, you weren't digging it really.
Yeah, it's like cool. It's on a bike, you're doing it. I don't know. I like that it was in a hot room. That's the other thing that I'd say I throw in a lot is. Whether it be hot yoga or whether it be in a sauna, to get in a sauna after my workouts and stretch and get in that high heat, right, elevated heart rate in the sauna again. I'm a firm believer that there's got to be some really. I know there were some studies.
Yeah, there's a lot of new research saying that that's really good for you to do that.
Right. It's like heat cell proteins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's protecting, or at least from what I've got, it's protecting the cell, and then because we're dying, right? We're decaying as humans, so we have this heat cell protein when we're in the high heat, and then ultimately for that period of time, like whether that heat cell protein lasts like a day or 2 days or whatever, it's like during that time your cell is like more preserved. And that's at least what I got. And correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think that sounds legit.
That's I mean, it sounds like good bullshit, right?
Cameron Haynes, what's your guess? 24 hours. How many miles in 24 hours?
He's an animal. Fuck him. 100 miles or something stupid.
108.
That's stupid.
Just
in 24 hours.
24 hours.
24 hours straight.
I mean, that's 3 marathons. No, it's 4 marathons. What a psycho.
Jesus criminy.
Yeah, to me, that's like the mental aspect of that is even more interesting than the physical. Like, what is compelling him to do that? What in his brain makes him need to go do that?
I don't know.
I think he sort of had like an ADD component to his personality. And I almost feel like those ultra endurance things allowed him to focus.
He's really calm.
He's really calm. So
Very
he's the
calm.
opposite of Desena. So
but that could be a lot of things. He doesn't live in LA. He lives up in Oregon. He eats a lot of elk. He eats really good. He lives off the land. Mm-hmm. He really truly lives off the land.
It's probably just to see if you could do it, right? How far can I go?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any desire to do that. I mean,
and where does that end too? Like, 24 hours, is that not good enough? You have to do 48, or like, where does it stop?
I think he's done 48. I think he's done like 200 something.
Wow.
I want to say like 240 or something crazy. 200 something miles through the desert too. It's a psychopath, but I love it. I love people who are extreme like that. I mean, it's like great. But
he sounds like a real modern day hunter gatherer.
He's a modern day hunter gatherer,
killing his dinner, chasing it down.
He hunts all year long. Well, not elk all year long, but in the fall that's like his big thing. He goes on multiple elk hunts, and then they eat off the land. I mean, he got freezers full of elk, mm-hmm. and they eat. Feeds his family. I think that's just awesome. I think it's just great. I think we need to be more connected to our food. I grew up hunting and fishing, mm-hmm. and I just I think it's I don't know. There's a real connection to it, and there's a real loss. And we talked about on the last podcast. It's just like the fast food society we live in, and it just is. It's mind-boggling. We're just not even connected, and we're filled full of so much misinformation.
It's probably the best meat you can get.
Oh,
it's not full of all that hormones and bullshit.
So good.
Good for the planet.
About free range, right?
Yeah.
You're actually out there tracking it down and killing it.
It's the real deal.
It is the real deal.
And then when you get one, you have to carry that shit back.
It's legit.
Yeah.
Elk hunting is no joke. And I always tell people, certain people I come in contact with, huge animal lovers, right? And, it's fine. I totally respect. You do you. You want to be a vegetarian, that's your choice. And it's cool. You want to eat plants. I mean, I cry for those plants, though, that they eat.
Hey, plants are sentient.
Plants are beings, too.
Yeah.
You're killing them. It's messed up.
Have you ever seen a plant in, is it slow motion or fast motion?
No, I haven't. Oh, when they're like growing?
Yeah, well, and they they lean towards the food and the sun, and they reach out for things, and it's just not the time that we're used to.
Messed up, man. All those vegetarians, murderers.
Yeah, if you're so sensitive that you can't eat meat and you can't eat plants,
that's the thing. I mean,
you're going to starve to death.
Life is dependent upon.
Life eats life.
Yeah.
Right.
In some form or another.
Yeah, it really does. But that being said, I respect all you vegetarians out there.
Absolutely.
You can have it. You can have your plants.
And when I have vegetarian weeks, I feel great.
Yeah, it's cool. I got nothing against it. What I was saying though is when I come across people who don't understand meat thing or don't understand anything, I tell them, if you ever been on like a real hunt, like a bow hunt, or it's hard. It's really hard. And people that think it's, I would challenge them to go out and see what that's like. And you might go and not shoot one for a whole season, and really try and for days and days and days, a week hunt more sometimes and go and not get one. And it's interesting to think that we we get it so available at the grocery store. It's like even whatever your food is, whatever you come and get, that we're so detached.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect word for it.
It's just kind of saddens me a little bit.
The thing that bugs me is when people hunt for trophies.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy. I always root for the animal in that scenario.
Yeah.
To prevail over the person. But to actually feed your family, I think that's just kind of the way it works on this planet, right?
And
it is.
And the Native American MO of, use every bit of
everything,
that
right?
you get.
No waste in anything.
Respect, right?
Totally.
What you've just killed.
And honor and all that, absolutely.
It died for a purpose.
But also outside of animals too, like what about just no waste for anything, You make something, right? Like, okay, like, and we're guilty of it right now too. Like as we sit here with these freaking plastic bottles.
Matt, no more plastic. It's Matt's fault.
I know. It's a bummer, and it's the way in which we live. But look, you make a cup, right? You could have this one cup forever if you do it right.
When you were a cowboy, you did, right?
That's what you did.
You got your cup.
You got your cup. That's your cup, right? You had your cup, and you reused it. I mean, it's a simple idea, and I love that it's coming back more and more. Like, people are making these great Hydro flasks and these Yeti
that's awesome.
deals, and it's and there is a movement to start that, right? To have your one deal and have, we don't need to have all this excess. Like, how can we prevent that?
Isn't there a movement, I think in California, to like have plastic straws outlawed or reduced, which I think is great. I mean, all that stuff ends up at the bottom of the ocean. Like, do people really need a straw?
Do you need a straw?
Right. A beverage, just drink that.
I know it feels good in your teeth.
I just bend it over and get it the hell out of the way all the time.
The straw?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even take the straw.
I need no straw.
Just a straw.
I asked for no straw, but they give you the straw.
They do. They want that straw in there.
Yeah.
They do. What else? What else about bodybuilding, about fitness have you learned through all your travels and all the research you've done? Like any supplements that you just love that you call bullshit?
Well, bodybuilding.com sells supplements, so there's the content part that I work on, and then there's the store itself. And some of them I would never use in a million years, and some of them I think are incredibly effective. I think protein powder is great because, again, I think the RDA is so low relative to what the new research says you need. And oftentimes you just don't have access to, food-based protein. So just a quick protein shake is a great way to bang out, 20 grams of protein.
But what kind of protein powder? Because there's a lot of crap out there with filler. People don't realize that.
Yeah, the fewer ingredients, generally the better. Just a good, clean whey protein. You just have to do your homework and see which one is right for you, I would say. I think fish oil is a really good supplement for cardiovascular health, anti-inflammatory effects. Again, it's great to eat fish 3-4 times a week, but sometimes you can't. So fish oil, I think, is really helpful in that regard. The stuff that doesn't interest me at all as either a consumer or an editor is like fat burners and things like that. I think that's just kind of like a cheap shortcut to doing something that you should be doing with your diet and your training. The idea that you maybe accelerate it very slightly for a couple of days by taking this pill, I don't think makes a whole lot of sense. What else would I recommend? I think, again, it's kind of boring, but just a good multivitamin for a lot of people. A lot of our food supply has kind of been degraded in terms of its quality. Plants just don't have the nutrients that they had 20, 30 years ago. So just to kind of cover your bases, I think a good multi is always a great call.
I do fish oil, and the only thing I see that bugs me, because I love a good fish oil, I believe I use Nutri-C or Nordic Sea.
Nordic Naturals.
Nordic Naturals.
That's one of the best ones.
Yeah. Do you know Nutri-C?
No, that doesn't ring a bell.
I bounce back and forth between both those, but the other thing that bugs me that I see these fish oil sold, right, like on the shelves, not refrigerated, and then I see people with them, and they're months old, months and months and months and months old, if not years old sometimes, and I go, it's rancid. You're eating rancid fish oil. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's like it's fish oil. It's like it's gonna go bad. That's good. You want to eat things that are gonna go bad.
Yeah, well, if you actually consume it, you should blow through that container relatively quickly. If it's been sitting there for 2 years, it means you're not using it in the first place. So
yeah,
I would just throw that out.
Yeah, you should consume it quickly so you can buy another one and get more fish oil. But I know I refrigerate mine.
Do you take probiotics?
I do.
That to me is the most interesting supplement category right now. And there's a lot of back and forth. There's some people who think they're worthless and do absolutely nothing. But there's a lot of research that suggests that they have really, really profound impacts on a person's health.
Biogut bacteria, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
just the flora in your gut, basically.
Sure.
I think the question is whether you can really supplement with it in a way that mimics what your gut produces because it's so complex. So I think that I'm most curious, like in the next few years, like what the research on probiotics is going to reveal.
Yeah.
So,
we talk about kombucha. Everybody's like on this kick of that. It's natural probiotic. Gotta have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Will we look back and be like, nah, or
maybe?
Yeah.
Better than soda.
Definitely better than soda. There's not a bunch of sugar in kombucha, right?
I don't think so, no.
No.
I don't drink it, but I don't think there is.
There's some caffeine in it, I believe.
Probably.
And
there's
trace
some alcohol in it, yeah.
But
I got carded for kombucha at Whole Foods one time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, you look like a nefarious character.
Yeah, absolutely. I look like I'm 19 as well, apparently.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I don't know if you're going to let that one slide.
And so many people these days take antibiotics to excess, and that just wipes out your gut bacteria. So if you've just done a cycle of that, it's definitely good to follow up with some probiotics. So I think the question is whether someone eating a healthy diet still needs probiotics, and I think that's debatable.
That's the part that's debatable, you think?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, people love to pop those Z-Packs like candy.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I'm feeling sick. Boom. No, what? Did you even try to get better?
Yeah, you build up a resistance to that. So when you actually do need it later, it doesn't work. So
yeah, I try to be real. I won't. That's the last resort.
I think that's prudent.
Yeah. How many would you say have you done in the last 10 years? Like a Z-Packs? Yeah. Because it is an interesting thing, right? Before penicillin, like people would die of common cold.
Yeah. I don't think I've used it much at all. So
much at all?
Antibiotics?
Over the last decade? I can't say I've been that good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna sit on my soapbox here and be like, yeah, I barely ever use it. But I mean, the truth is, I've had to do it to knock out a sinus infection or knock out a bacterial infection that won't kick. But you know what I found has worked, if like the sauna, right? The steam room sauna, right? If you feel like in the like the cold, the winter, you're getting like stuffy, headache, you're getting like a sinus infection or whatever, you're getting some sort of bacterial infection, the more I can just pump myself into that damn sauna.
You think that helps?
I really think it helps. Or if I've traveled ever, when I feel like I've had something, I go to a warm climate, like hot, humid climate, I feel like it clears up. I don't know if that's just...
I don't know. I wouldn't discount that, especially if it works for you. I think I'd keep doing it,
Like there's something with your body temp maybe heating up where it's able to fight back that bacteria.
Yeah. I mean, the bro science explanation would be that you're sweating out the toxins, quote unquote. But I think elevating your body temperature probably does have some effects that might help.
Bro science?
Yeah, just science that's not really science.
Is that the self-proclaimed experts out there? The
gym dude
who's got a blog.
There you go.
He's got a blog. Everyone's got a blog. Yeah. Hey.
Who knows, man?
What else, Tim?
I'm stuck on the cancer. What was it? What's the new cancer?
Sitting.
Sitting? How is sitting the new cancer? I mean, I know it's detriments for sure, but
Dude, think about all the like the way you're putting your organs, right? Like the way you're like compressing everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're not meant to do that.
I agree completely.
I just think you feel it. You feel it when you've been sitting all day. Your back's sore. Your organs are sore.
Your neck, your forearms, your fingers.
Everything.
Yeah. But you said
blood clots.
You said you did an article, Jeff?
Yeah, one of our experts did a piece, and it was really interesting. One of the points he made that I think is really important for people to know is that if you work out really intensely for like an hour a day, you would think, oh, you're doing great. But if you then sit for the rest of the time, you're kind of negating the effects of that. So it's equally important just to get up from your desk at work every half hour or hour and just go for a walk outside or around the office itself. But it's really detrimental. So even if you're otherwise being healthy, doing your workout, if you sit for 8 hours straight, that's incredibly harmful to your body. So, and so many people do that too.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that
and
myself
are forced to do
oftentimes.
so.
Yeah.
Well, what I do see is these stand-up desk movements, people sitting on these medicine balls now, getting up, walking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's not everywhere, but I think people need to be aware of that, right? In whatever occupation they have.
Yeah. It burns a few extra calories too. Just sitting there on that exercise ball, I mean, just kind of stabilizing yourself, it actually burns a few calories. So
I'm trying to mitigate my time in the car. That's, I moved to Texas for that reason.
You live in Texas?
Yeah. I live in
part?
Texas. Austin.
Okay.
It's just a better city. Walking. You're just out. You barely get in your car if you don't want to. It just, I found my life was just existing in my car.
So you moved from LA to Austin?
I was living in San Diego for a while.
Okay.
But
yeah, Austin seems like a very hip spot all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's great.
People are going there.
Great spot. A lot
Hopefully
of soul.
it won't get ruined if everyone goes there.
There's a lot of space there. I think we got some time. But don't come to Austin. No, yeah. I'm just kidding.
It's terrible. Horrible place.
It sucks. No. It's a lot of, there's more the merrier kind of vibe there. There's, like we were talking about, living in communities. Yeah, living in a community. Like, oh, like that person needs help. Oh, hey, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing today? A little more. And I noticed that too. I was telling you that we have a place up in family place up in Idaho, and
Sun Valley,
yeah. And just those small towns. When you get into small towns, people seem more apt to help, apt to be a part of the whole system. That's why we're here.
What a novel idea!
That's beautiful.
Help people out.
That part of Idaho is spectacular.
Yeah. Anything else? I'm trying to think of other things we can talk about that would really help the average bear.
The average bear. I don't know. I mean, we talked a little bit about kind of basic routines in every other day and things like that, but what's the physiology? I mean, I know sometimes when you really work out, you're tearing muscle. Now I'm in my 40s and I've read things about, is atrophy really because of age, or is it because lack of use? I mean, how do those things change over time? How do your recommendations change over time? And is there something to be conscious of in terms of don't push that hard anymore?
Yeah, I think that's kind of BS, honestly. I think if you train properly, you don't use bad form. I think the important thing is to be, like we said earlier, be consistent, especially as you get older, because like a 2-year layoff in your 40s or 50s, you're going to struggle the rest of your life to come back from that.
Mm-hmm.
So don't do idiotic things. If you have lower back pain, maybe CrossFit is not the right thing for you, unless you want to have lumbar spine surgery sometime soon. So I think, some common sense.
That's a goal.
Someone listening to CrossFit right now is going, what? Oh my God.
No, I'm talking specifically for aging people. I think that there's a lot of impact from that and a lot of stress on the spine. So just, check. That's a situation where definitely check with your doctor before you do like high intensity training past the age of 40.
Mm-hmm.
Should be common sense, but a lot of people don't do it. I mean, I had lumbar spine surgery 5 years ago and was training with a strength coach, almost like a high school football player would, and doing box jumps and all that stuff. And was getting great results and loving it, but just
a lot of pressure.
As a tall guy, who probably's been sitting at a desk most of my life. That one vertebrae or disc just couldn't handle it, and it was a pretty spectacular blowout. So
where was the blowout?
L5S1, so the bottom one.
What were you
But
doing?
it not only herniated, it actually came loose, and they call it sequestered, so it dropped down the spinal canal a bit. So, and it happened in Hawaii after I had just arrived. It happened, this is crazy, but the herniation happened on the plane ride, not in the gym. I was training really hard at the time, and apparently that's not uncommon. I don't know why, but I got off the plane and felt this numbness down my right leg. So,
and you're like, that's weird.
Yeah, that doesn't feel good at all. So,
and then you couldn't sleep, or
I just limped back, and the flight home was miserable. Tried to get some ice on it. It was a long 6 or 7 hours, believe me. But
yeah,
just be really. I think people should really be mindful beyond the age of 40 that about spine health and stuff like that, and the impact that training might have on that. If they do things that maybe they shouldn't be doing at that age.
Sure.
But like bench press and the normal exercises, if done correctly, like go for it. I think it's great.
So what would you avoid, like squats or maybe not squats, but squats with weight?
The thing I would be careful. I wouldn't say avoid, because if someone has a healthy spine, there's no reason to avoid it. But if there's already some damage to your spine, and often there is over 40, anything that's like high impact or ballistic, like a box jump, or my strength coach was having me do like a lot of taking a sledgehammer and pounding into a tire.
Yeah, yeah.
And like that's sort of reverberating through your whole body, and if you have weak discs, it may be an issue. So a lot of that kind of strongman stuff, which normally I would recommend if you have disc problems, it could be an issue.
It's like Donald Glover says in Lethal Weapon. He's like, getting too old for this shit.
Exactly.
You gotta you're too old for that.
Yeah.
I've actually never done CrossFit. I'm sure I've done it, just I've never done the actual CrossFit class.
You've never gone to a box and actually done that?
I've never gone to the orange thing.
Yeah.
Been like, I'm here. Sign me up. But I've done
like CrossFitters and bodybuilders just like do not get along.
Really?
Yeah, CrossFit's almost like a religion. I don't want to use the word cult, but but I mean they're really. It's sort of like yoga in the sense that it's not just. It becomes like their entire, or part of their entire life. Like CrossFit it's more than just a workout regimen. It's kind of a way of being, I think.
What do you mean? You're speaking about like Scientology. What? Tell me more.
We don't, like with yoga, practitioners will say, no, this isn't just flexibility training. This is a whole way of approaching life.
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
There's an element of that to CrossFit as well.
Really?
Yeah.
In a healthy way?
Sometimes and sometimes not, I would say. Explain. And they're often attacked, I think, because of that, and they then in turn sort of fire back with equal vigor at other people.
What's the unhealthy ways you see?
I think sometimes the programming for CrossFit leaves a little bit to be desired. Maybe too much volume. It can lead to overtraining for certain people. Again, if you have a spine condition, CrossFit's probably going to reveal it in a negative way. But yeah, they're just sort of very hardcore and very. It's kind of like we're doing CrossFit and everybody else is doing something else, and they're sort of the enemy. There is an element of that in that community.
Like it's not really evolving.
It just seems a little bit territorial and kind of. But again, it's so much better than somebody doing nothing. So I don't want to. And I know there's so many amazing CrossFit athletes and people for whom it's really good.
Sure.
Some people really love that. The kind of you're always trying to set personal records. So if you're somebody who likes to kind of benchmark, like I'm going to beat what I did last time, this time, that kind of thing. Psychologically, it's really good for those kinds of people.
It's interesting. Yeah, I guess I've done versions of it because I've worked out with trainers that have sort of been on that program.
Lots of Olympic lifts and stuff like that.
Yeah. A lot of Olympic lifts and all that stuff. But
so much of it is just finding what's right for you, whether it's diet, whether it's working out. Just, what do you like? What do you enjoy? I think there's an old adage in bodybuilding, like the best workout is the one that makes you go back for the next workout. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, you're a great example. You like swimming in the ocean. You like yoga. You go to the gym. I mean, these are all things that somehow resonate with you, and make you continue doing them. I think everyone has to find that thing for themselves, whether it's one thing or whether, like you, they like to combine a bunch of stuff into a regimen. Just do something, be active.
Just do something. That is, God, that's good. Just get off your ass and do something. Don't be boring.
100%.
You can live a better life than that.
Do it.
Get out there and do it. Well, cool. Thanks again for coming on and all the knowledge that you dropped today. And get out there, people. Do something. It's D-Day. Day 1. Today.
Never too late.
Yeah. And I don't mean like tomorrow. I mean like it's 8 o'clock and go do something and be done at 9.
There's still time.
Yeah, there's still time.